Hey everybody, my name is Via Williams. I'm the Director of Growth for the Ben Kinney Companies, and this is our Wednesday webinar. We do these every Wednesday from noon to 1 Pacific time, and these are geared towards agents, and they are meant to be highly tactical. My mission statement for our Wednesday webinars is that everybody watching or listening can take away 1 to 3 things to implement for their business within 1 hour of listening to the webinar. So these are highly tactical. We take pretty specific topics sometimes. Today, we have an incredible group today. We have 3 Rookie of the Years in different markets around the United States, and we're just going to pick their brain and learn how they did what they did. Other weeks we had Jeanette Spinelli on a few weeks ago, and her and I walked through our journey into luxury, how we started, how we got into that. We've had incredible buyer consult panel. We had an ISA panel. We had Sarita Dua come on to walk us through step-by-step how she does multiple offers. All of these are available on the Pivot Shift Ahead page and our Ben Kinney's leadership page on YouTube. You can email us, you can message me. There's a million places to get these recordings, right? They exist in the internet and they're not a secret. What I did want to ask you guys today as a special favor is we do these completely free. There's no obligation, right? It's our way of giving back. If you've gotten benefit out of these, or if this is your first one and you really like it, would you do me a favor and share this? Would you do me a favor and share this video? You can have a watch party. You can share it on your timeline. You can share it on your favorite group. We just want to spread the word and grow our viewership and bring people to the Pivot Shift Ahead page, to all of the channels that we do this on. That would be a huge favor for me if you guys would do that. All right, so I am really excited to announce our next couple Wednesday webinars before we get started today. Next week, I've always wondered this, so I'm really excited about it. I've got 3 top coaches, top real estate coaches from around the nation coming in to basically pick their brains and just say, what do you see over and over again that you wish agents would stop doing? What are the common mistakes you see? And then what do you really wish every single one of your clients would do? I kind of want to ask those questions, like, don't filter, tell me what you see, right? These guys coach hundreds and have coached hundreds and thousands of agents, and they all do it full time. So we've got a MAPS coach, a forward coaching coach, and then our lead productivity coach here in the Ben Kinney's brokerages, our Keller Williams franchises. So I'm really excited to kind of get the differing perspectives. Next week. The week after that, I'm really excited to bring one of my BFFs, Wendy Papasan, on, and we're going to teach you how to plan anything you want on one page. We call it a GPS or a 135. And then we're going to teach you how to take that and get into relationship with it on your calendar. And that's called a 411. So we're going to spend a full hour going through that with you. And speaking of Wendy Papasan, right after this webinar, Wendy is going to be on the One Thing webinar. I'm so excited about it. It's literally, we end at 1 and they launch at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's 3 p.m. Central time. And that's going to be the topic of how to use a retreat to advance your goals. And I know that my husband and I have used some of their framework for our annual couples. We've kind of done our own couples goal setting retreats. And so we just want to be sure that you have that link for to hear Wendy on that webinar right after this. So I'm really excited about that. And Hattie will post that both on Zoom and on Facebook. But I know you guys are all waiting for what's in front of me. These 3 amazing people. We've got Dan Clower. You know, Dan, we did this prep call, right? And I never got the pronunciation of your name. I'm such a consummate professional. You're muted, my friend.
You did it right, Clower. It's like hour or flower or power.
Perfect. Clower. Perfect. And Dan's out of Houston, Texas, and we're gonna go into. Dan blew me away on our prep call. Blew me away. Dan, you sold 37. Is that right? 37 homes. 37. You're in your 2nd year now. Is that right?
Just wrapped up year 2, and it looks like I'll do about the same number, despite the crazy year we're having.
That's amazing. It's amazing. So you came into this, and before you got into real estate, what did you do, Dan?
So I was a sales manager for an outside sales company, and I was a realtor a very long time ago in California when I was 20. And I did that for a couple of years, no work ethic at all. And then going into outside sales really helped build a work ethic. And I always kind of had a feeling I'm going to go back into real estate someday, and I luckily did.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm excited to launch into your mindset kind of walking into this too. Nicole Dankworth, one of my faves, in full disclosure, Nicole's in one of my market centers that I lead. Nicole, you're based in, West Seattle, North Seattle, just that whole Seattle area. Tell us a little bit about what you did before you got into real estate and how many homes you sold your first year.
You're one of my favorites too. I'm lucky to have
mutual
ladies
admiration
around. I was a stay-at-home mom for over 10 years. And the year before I got my license, I did a couple of off-market deals and some land acquisition. And those clients were like, you should really get your license. You'll get list backs. You can do all of this with it. You would make a whole lot more if you got your license. So I got my license. And much to my horror, nobody used me at first. And I was like, you guys all told me to do this. And they're like, well, you have to prove yourself. And so I just started doing open houses, reaching out to all my sphere, and I sold 26 homes over the course of 6 months my first year.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I can't wait to dive into more. And we're going to dive into more. You have your biggest fan is on our chat right now, raving about you. His last name happens to be the same last name as yours. Thanks, Jason. Alicia Brown, literally one of my favorite people. Cannot sing enough praises. Alicia is another full disclosure. Alicia is one of my team leaders. She leads our Olympia, Lacey and Olympia, Washington Market Center. But prior to that, you were rookie of the year in your particular market, Alicia. Tell us a little bit about what led into you coming into real estate, what you did before and what you did your first year.
Well, I graduated college from Washington State University. Go Cougs, gotta throw it in. And I didn't have a job. So I started working the front desk as a receptionist at a real estate firm. And I worked there. It was quick, a couple months. And at one point I was helping an older agent on their computer, teaching her how to copy and paste. And I looked up and I realized that she was making more money than I was. And that's when I was like, And I went into Rockwell and I got my license, and the rest is history.
That's incredible. I love that you lasted like T-minus 2 weeks.
Literally.
In that role, because I know you well. And that probably took patience for you to last 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to circle back down to Dan. Dan, I'm fascinated by your approach to real estate. I love it. So can you walk us through? So, you're in outside sales, at what was it? Chemical, pharmaceutical,
industrial supplies. Boring.
Maybe there was an AL at the end. Yeah. You're doing outside sales there. And so when you decided to go into real estate, what was your mindset and how did you think you were going to approach the business walking in to day one, right?
So I wanted to get back into it because I don't know, if you work for certain types of companies, you sometimes will run into stuff where you don't think you belong there anymore. And it was pretty obvious I didn't belong there anymore. And so I'd been saving my money for the 3 or 4 years before knowing I'm going to go back into real estate. And when I turned off my income, I was making close to $200,000 a year, and I just turned it off. And I was terrified. There's still days where I'm terrified, and I'm 2 years in and I have done okay. But I was coming into this building, our market center here in Katy, just sick. Just what did I do? What am I doing here? And there's a lot of, names on our wall and folks who I'd seen their names, and there wasn't a lot of income there. And I think looking back now, I'm going, okay, you have to really work to make a significant income, which is the main thing I want people to take away from this. But I was scared, so scared. But I came in and did the work. That's what drove me out of bed. Now I wasn't sleeping, so it was easy to get up early. So I'm in the office at 8. I started making calls. I knew I'd be a calling person. So I called expireds and I called Circle around my, once I started having production, I started calling around my listings and calling around stuff that I'd closed and, using the inventory that I was creating as social proof that I'm a worthy agent. Now, a couple of people on this question thing have talked about how do you boost your confidence? And for me, it was pure activity. And I don't think there's a shortcut to that. I think you have to work your butt off and fail a bunch and know you're going to fail a bunch and be okay with that and not know what you're doing, filling out a form if you're new. But honestly, within 6 or 7 contracts, the forms become pretty standard. You get used to things. The key is that you do them a lot, right? Because if you do them 4 times a year, you're never going to get good at it. You want to do a lot of work. So that was, come in, make contacts every day. And then in the afternoon, I door knocked. If I didn't have an appointment, I don't know about you guys, I'm willing to be on the phone, but past 3 hours on the phone, I'm like, I'm good. I need to go outside now. So I'll door knock, 100 houses in the afternoon if I don't have an appointment. And that's go ahead.
I'm fascinated, Dan. Who taught you this? How did you know to do that? Did you go to a class? Did you hear somebody?
I think being outside sales was helpful. I knew I wanted to be on the phone. I was in Mike Ferry training forever ago, and I knew a lot of agents get on the phone and they're successful, and I don't have a huge sphere. So I'm like, well, expired listings are happening every day. I know they're difficult, but if I can conquer that, then there's nothing in the real estate world you can't do. If you can convert an expired from angry and then interviewing against 5 other agents, that one I went on when you called me, I got it, by the way.
Congrats. That's awesome.
And I walked out of that meeting to do our prep call. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go, but it seems like we want to work together, right? And they were like, yeah, okay, we'll let you know. So anyway, if you can conquer that, and I think it's not for everybody. Expireds are not for everybody. And there's, nothing is for everybody. But for sure, circle calling, I think is for everybody. They're not angry. They're, you have listings or you have sales, you could call around them and find the next listing or the next sale. And that's just something that would be the easiest way to get to 20 contacts a day.
So I want to move into Nicole a little bit, but before we do that, let's do a little role play. You circle prospecting, just for our really new agents, is when you call around a house you either listed and sold or brought a buyer to and sold. So, let's pretend, because a lot of new agents start with buyers. So let's use a buyer, Dan. Let's pretend you brought a buyer and you sold a home and you want to circle call around that home. Why don't we do a little role play?
Sure. And really, whether you brought the buyer or did the sale, the bottom line is I just sold a home.
There you go. That right there is a nugget, because the consumer doesn't distinguish.
No, it has nothing in your MLS. It still shows you have a sale if you have a profile on your local board or something. But yeah, so the role play would be I'd call you up. It'd go ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, is this Via?
It is.
Hey, Via, this is Dan from Keller Williams, and I was calling you because I just sold 2 homes in your so I'm sorry, is this a buyer? I'm sorry.
Whatever you want.
Okay, let's do buyer. Oh, sorry. So, hey, Via, this is Dan from Keller Williams, and I just sold a house right around the corner from you, and we were one of 15 offers on that property. The market is amazing at this moment. Do you have any desire to get your home sold in the next few months?
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I sort of would be interested, Dan. I'm just really concerned about where I would move to because of the 15 offers. I know I would sell my house. I'm worried about where I'd buy.
That's totally fair. That's the main question people are typically, I ask people is where would you move if you were going to sell this house? Where would you like to go next?
To Spruce Creek neighborhood.
Okay, Spruce Creek. What's important about that? Do you like the schools, or what do you like about it?
Yeah, I think, we'd just kind of like to upgrade our house, and we like that school district. And, it's an area we've been looking at for a while.
Awesome. How soon would you like to be there?
Whenever. I mean, it's virtual school. We don't really, we can go now. We can wait.
Okay. So how much money would you have to get for your home to kind of justify that you'd want to move?
$595 to $600.
Okay, awesome. Well, would you mind if can you indulge me for 1 minute? Can I take a look at your neighborhood real quick? And they usually say, yeah, and I can pull up on my MLS while I'm on the phone. Well, it looks like you could probably it looks like that's possible. So would you like to get together and talk about the process of what it looks like to get your home sold?
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it.
Cool. What time tomorrow at 4 o'clock can we get together?
What time at 4 o'clock?
I say that every time, and they laugh every time, and you don't have to be weird about it. You don't have to be like, a lot of people like to do the either or, don't give them a chance to say no. I will literally say, what time tomorrow at 4 o'clock should we get together?
I'm literally stealing that. That is my new thing. I'm using it everywhere.
It breaks down their defense. Because I think the other problem you all have, or we all have, is no one cares. I don't know. It's once you realize there's a lot of Steve Jobs videos that he talks about everyone's making everything up. I think if you can internalize that, and that goes back to the confidence question, nobody knows what they're doing. So just go have a good time, and you will grab the people that want to be a part of that listing that I was on, that I had to leave for our prep call. I just had fun with them. And if we hit it off, and I'm going to talk about the market, I'm going to give them the stats and be an official, person. But if you're going there and you're all like stodgy about it, no one wants to work with that. So what time tomorrow?
100%.
Just look for little things you can say all the time, and no one knows you're repeating them because they've never had a circle call with you before. So
That's right. And I love that. And just as a reminder, because I think we have a lot of newer agents joining us for this particular webinar because of the topic. New agents, remember this: every real estate conversation you have, your call to action is likely an appointment. If you're at an appointment, it's to get an agreement or a purchase and sale signed, right? So our sales flow in real estate goes, contact, appointment, agreement, pending, sold. So, agreement would be a buyer brokerage agreement or a listing agreement. And then, I notice every market has different terms. We call it mutual or going pending here in Seattle, but whatever your term is. But so if you are not at that point, every conversation, your call to action, your goal, the outcome that you want out of all of your lead generation is an appointment. Very, very important to know the outcome that you're seeking for all of your activities.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dan. Nicole, what was your idea and I guess approach and mindset walking into real estate? You shared a little bit of that, but what did you think this was going to look like? What was your initial plan?
Honestly, I thought I would sell a couple houses a year to supplement our family income. And it moved along a lot faster. And I was very lucky to have Courtney Cooper push me along and say, hey, I think you can sell 10 million this year. And I thought, no way. And I did it. And then she's like, I think you can do 20. And I was like, there is no way. Where's that going to come from? And it happened. I sold over 20 million my first year. And it's now turned into this challenge to see just how far I can take it. And, I do have a list of people I want to work with, and I'm working on that daily to gain their business and break into certain markets I want to. And it's just breaking it down piece by piece.
So what was your game plan? So I love that focus, and I love, where your head was at. That's a good outcome, right? What was the process that you kind of embarked on? Day one, you got your license. What did you do day one? Where was your head then?
Yeah. I reached out to all of my sphere, and I did phone calls, and chatted with them, and if they might know anyone or if they were interested in buying or selling. And I've been always very good about checking in with people. So it was just a lot of check-in right from the get-go, and open houses.
Open houses.
Houses.
What's your typical approach in an open house?
I would usually print out a few similar properties as well and kind of give them their space. And then once they're done looking, chat with them in the kitchen and find out what they liked or didn't like about the house, and then have some other ideas and tell them, we can go look today if you want to go look. And getting their number, giving them my number, just following up, being willing to show that day. I've converted a lot from open houses. I feel like I'm better in person than on the phone. So my approach is a little different. If I can get a face-to-face, they're usually my client. So
do you door knock, Nicole, ever?
I do. Oh yeah.
When you door knock, what's the purpose of it? Is it circle prospecting? Is it inviting them to open houses? Is it trying to get off-market properties? What's your typical reason for doing that?
For door knocking, I work with a lot of developers, and there's literally certain streets where I know I have a buyer for any house on that street. So it's getting to know all of those neighbors and, just letting them know if and when they decide to sell, I have this buyer that pays a really fair amount, and it's worked really well. And also if I have like luxury clients or a really specific, I'm doing one for one of my clients right now. He wants this one little neighborhood. There's like 50 homes in there. And so I have been dialing, and I'm going to go door knock, and I have 3 leads already. He's very interested in one of them. Yeah.
I do want to dive in a little bit, because all of you, we should probably have given a disclaimer. All of you guys had your rookie year pre-COVID. So I do want to dive in a little bit later on how you would have adapted what you did during COVID and what you're doing now. One of my questions is door knocking. I know that agents are door knocking now. It's a little controversial. I know that my team, what the agents on my team have felt comfortable doing is leaving a flyer, not necessarily knocking on the door, waiting for a person to come. So I want to dive into that a little later, but I want to stay on something you said. So it was really smart, and I don't want people to miss it. When I asked you what your approach was at open houses, a lot of your answer was, well, I want to try to go show them houses, after the open house, or I want to go to their house, whatever. You have been, because I know you well and have coached you a little bit, you are really good about closing for that appointment immediately. Like you're like, hey, it's 3:00. I'm done in an hour. Why don't we go look at houses in an hour? Or, it's 3:00. I can be over. I need to get my signs. I can be over by 4:30 to walk through your house. Or it's really quiet. I'm just going to put a sign up and pop over for 15 minutes. You're the queen, I think, at that instant appointment, like no time like the present. And what I've learned over the years is that the shorter the delta, the smaller the delta between setting the appointment and attending the appointment, the higher the show up rate, the higher the conversion, because there's a momentum that's still happening. When you're at an open house and you don't even follow up until 2 days later, let alone set the appointment, you're at a 1% chance that you're going to convert. But if you're at the open house and you're literally closing for the appointment within hours, not days, you have a higher likelihood. Do you have anything to say about that? Is that accurate? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's accurate. I've noticed that through trial and error. If I wait, feeling like you want to give them space or time to think about it, the conversion rate's just not even there. But if I build that rapport instantly and get time with them that day or the next day, I'm in constant contact, they almost always convert.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back to some of this because, it's interesting. Isn't it interesting when you hear 3 different people, just 3 different approaches, and yet there's so much you all have in common. Alicia Brown, so you're a reception. I want to get in your head a minute because it's such a great story. So you graduate from Wazoo, you're like 20 nothing, and you're at a real estate reception. Now, Dan admitted to something that I'm going to cop to too. In my early 20s, I'm not sure I was the most focused, like stellar sort of like, work ethic leader I am today. So I'm kind of in awe that like at 22, by the time you were 23, you were in a pretty serious mode selling a lot of real estate. So you're a receptionist, you decide to get your license. What was your approach walking into that?
I was just watching the agents. Watching and listening to every single thing they did. I was excited to be in the bullpen because that means I could hear all 4 corners, right? I would stand in the doors of these agents and just be like, hey, just so you know, I have no appointments on my schedule today. I'm completely free. If you have anything that you don't have time for, just let me know. I'll do it for you for free. I was in their faces every day, just sitting there, smiling at them, waiting, loving on them and learning. Yes, there's contracts class, and yes, there's Ignite, and yes, there's Wednesday webinars. But the best thing you can do is just hear other real estate conversations so that you're more confident that you know what you're talking about because you've heard it and you've seen another agent negotiate a 35R. You've done an inspection before because you did it for the top agent in your office, right? And eventually they started getting used to seeing me. And then they started liking me a little bit because I was taking stuff off their plate. And then they started to respect me because I showed up every single day, which that in turn led to business.
Yeah. And you sold how many your first year, Alicia?
I did 1 a month. That was my goal. 1 a month, 12 houses.
Which is, a huge first year. And that's the reason I had you come on I think that's a really worthy, admirable goal, especially in a lot of the price points that are represented in our webinars. And it was important for me to make sure that you came on to say, 12 homes a year is an incredible rookie year, right?
Thank you.
And so I didn't want to just have the 20 and 30 something, and so it was like Dan, 12, 20 something, 30 something, because I think it's a really good mix. I mean it, it's really, most agents will not sell 12 homes ever in a year, let alone their rookie year. You have to know that. The average agent sells under 4 homes a year, right?
Wow.
So here's what I call that. And all of you basically said it. I call that confidence through competence. Confidence through competence, which is that you gain confidence as you gain competence and experience. Dan said it, Nicole said it, you said it in different ways. That's what I noticed the thread of similarity was. Dan's like, hey, I failed forward. I did a bunch of stuff so that I could get that confidence, right? Nicole did the same thing. She's like, trial and error. I tried setting those appointments in advance. It didn't work, right? And so I got more confident setting them right away because I knew once I left, I'd never see them again, and then you just said it yourself. And so you guys all kind of chose your own unique way to gain the confidence that you needed. I was coaching an agent yesterday on the phone, and she was trying to get into the luxury niche. And so I did a little coaching session for her. And she's a very seasoned agent, very good at what she does. And I said, hey, you're going to have to go preview homes again. She's like, Via, I've done this 16 years. I know my market left and right. I don't think I need to preview homes. I said, no, you actually do. You need to go preview homes in this new niche that you're discovering, just like you're a new agent, just like you're a first-year agent. You know why? She said, why? And I said, because you know the $2 million buyers that called you yesterday that you told me about? She said, yeah. And I said, and you said to them, what? She said, I said, I'm going to go preview all these homes that you picked out online tomorrow. Thanks for sending them to me. I go, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. You know what's better? What's better is when you say, oh, those are great choices. So I've seen 4 of the 6 of them. And I wanted to, I just want to get some clarification from you. That one doesn't really have a view. I know the photos look like it has a view. I can share with you, they probably took it from the master bedroom at a 45-degree angle. I mean, the master bedroom closet, from a 45-degree angle. So let's dive into that a little bit. How is it important for you to have a nice outlook and be private, or do you need to see water? Because I can tell you right now, 3 of these homes won't see water. The other 3 probably will. And that's why they're a different price. Now, how do each of those conversations go? That's confidence. And that's confidence through competence, because I've been doing my work. I've been previewing homes and I just know my stuff. You can convert both ways, right? So rookies, if you just got your license yesterday, you're okay. It's okay to use the script. Hey, I'm going to go preview those homes, but it's better if you can answer it in a way that shows a lot of confidence. Can we all agree on that one? Okay. Every once in a while, I get to get on my little podium. Okay. Alicia, let's stay on you. So how did you get your first deal? I want to ask all of you guys how you got your first deal. And then the follow-up is going to be, so you can think about it, Dan and Nicole, how'd you get your first 3 deals? So where did your very first deal come from, Alicia?
I love it. I was sitting in an open house and a little old lady walks in. And she goes, I love this community so much, but I can't do the stairs. I need a single story house. And I go, oh my gosh, I know that there's actually a single story home for sale right around the corner. I get done here at 3 o'clock. I'll meet you there at 3:15. And she goes, okay. And I made $10,000.
Okay, hold on. There's so much to unpack there. Hold, please. We cannot move on. Number one, that is exactly the confidence conversation that I was sharing.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Number 2, it's that immediate appointment. You didn't wait till Monday to follow up. You just said, hey, let's go right now, right? There's no better time than the present, because you know that as bold as it might have felt to say that, you're going to lose her. You're never going to see that sweet little old lady again. Wow.
I tell people, for real, like if your open house ends at 3 o'clock, you do not plan something at 3:30.
100%.
It needs to be your expectation that you are moving into appointments after that you're sitting in that open house. And if you're running out the door at 3 o'clock, like, oh, bye.
Preach it, woman. This is like, it's amazing. Yes. Just yes to everything you just said. Amazing. So how'd you get your next few deals after that?
I was sharing an office, a co-office with another broker, and they were one of the top brokers, and they got a sign call, and they were like, oh, I have appointments. I can't show it to you right now. I can show it to you a little bit later. And I looked at them and I was waving my hand and I was like, I can. And they were like, oh, actually I have a broker here who can meet you out there. I met them out there. They didn't buy that house, but they bought a house around the corner, and I made $10,000.
Hold on. You're not going to gloss over that. We're going to drill down deep. How did they buy a house around the corner? What did that look like? So you meet them at the house.
Yep. Okay. And they go, I don't know. And I was like, oh, well, are there any other houses? Like I'm free all day today. Are there any other houses you want to see? He goes, I don't know. And he pulls up Zillow and he just like browses a second, because I wasn't prepared. Right. I'm like, where am I? What turn it? Right. Pulls up Zillow, looks around and he goes, oh, like, yeah, there's one right over here. Can we go open it? And I said, yeah, let me make sure it's vacant. And I opened it.
Okay. I just love so much about this.
Like being there.
And again, all agents listening, if you tweak anything, it's this mindset of the appointment is now. The appointment is as soon to now as it can be. I can't stress that enough, especially for those of you who have experience doing internet leads. I mean, the ideal appointment is now. Any hour beyond now is just going to, decrease your likelihood of conversion.
Yes.
What about your third, fourth, fifth deal, next few deals?
Open houses, agent to agent referrals, like they'd be like, I don't want to drive an hour. And I was like, I will.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah. That's so great. Awesome. Dan, what about you? How'd you get your very first deal in real estate?
My first deal was no, I take it back. The very first deal when I was part-time, I started door knocking on Saturdays to try it out to see do I want to door knock. And I actually had a riot. This was way pre-COVID. This was in 2018. And I had a good time. And I met a couple the first time door knocking. I was doing like 90 houses, and their dog ran out. I petted the dog. I don't know why people invite me into their homes, because nobody should invite anybody into their homes, but they invited me into their house. And I was petting their dog. I think it's because I bond with the animals, and I don't have a dog, but I love other dogs. So I go in, and we listed that house like 3 months later. They were like, well, our daughter's graduating. And this was in like January, February. I was just trying it out. This was before I ever got into the business full time. And like, our daughter's going to graduate. We don't need this 4,500 foot house. That was from door knocking. So to your point, just showing up in the neighborhood. And they did know I wasn't a full-time agent yet. I told them my story, and I'm planning on going full-time. And frankly, you're going to be my only listing. So I'm going to take really good care of you. And my schedule is such that I'm going to be able to promote this house. And God bless them. They hired me, and that house was sold in 40 days, and it was a $17,000 commission.
Wow.
I need to get out of this old other job, because that's almost double what I was making in a month. So, I
mean, if you look at your dollar per hour on that transaction, all in from cradle to grave, it's very high.
I have calculated that when I door knock, I make about $800 in an hour and a half, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm kind of like, should I get off the phone and just door knock all day long? I don't know, because I'm serious. I've done the math on how many homes I've sold in the subdivisions where I door knock and how many times I've door knocked them. I do it every month, and it's seriously like I make $8 every time I put a piece of paper on a door. So I mean, just even saying that out loud, I think I want to get off the phone and just door knock all the time.
Yeah, no, stay with us, my friend. We've got 30 more minutes. I know you're not going to leave me.
My morning phone calls, but I make good money from in the morning on the phone. I've done the calculations. It's at least $200 an hour. So I can't believe there's days where I don't do it very much, because it's good money when you calculate where did all these deals come from and how much time did it take to get them. It's not that much.
So I'm curious, just kind of drilling down on that a little bit, Dan. Do you call the people that you're door knocking, or is it a separate list typically?
So I'm doing a couple things. I am door knocking my immediate subdivision where I live. And so I would tell anyone that comes into my office, how should I start door knocking? I think you should be the dominant agent in your own subdivision, right? So you should door knock where you live if you live in a neighborhood you want to stay in. But if you don't live in a neighborhood you want to stay in, then you should door knock your neighborhood, and you should door knock your aspirational neighborhood where you want to stay in, where you want to go to. Somebody asked earlier about how do you door knock with social distancing. Right now, I'm just doing flyers. So I have been door knocking for a couple of years now, and I'm well known enough from doing the market. It's a market report every month, what's gone on in the neighborhood. And now when I'll see people I don't even know, and they're like, hey, what's the market report say this month? And I've left it on their door 20 times. So that's kind of fun that I'm getting the recognition now, where they know who I am, just seeing me walk around. So that was the first deal was a door knock. The second two were expired phone calls. I'm telling you, people think it's hard, and it is, but if you make a few hundred phone calls a day, I use a dialer. I think a lot of people probably use Vulcan or Mojo. You have to be willing to put in the work, but then that also goes back to the mindset. Even though I was freaking out that nothing was going to work or something, I still realized that rejection's kind of fake. That once you're gone, they don't remember you at all. So you don't have to be beat down by, and I don't think people are that angry on the phone. I get some angry people, but most people are just like, we're not interested, and they hang up, and I move on. But that appointment that I was at during our prep call, that was an 8 o'clock first phone call of the day. And the lady said, we are thinking about interviewing some other people. And I asked her, the next question in the script, where are you moving when this thing sells? And I find, whether I'm getting lucky or not, there's some really friendly people out of every 2,000 phone calls. I just set an appointment. It's not difficult. It's not like I had to do some skills. I just talked to them. So
do you think you're naturally wired to kind of just be able to cold call like that?
I think so, but I've also read a lot of books, and I was not that way a long time ago. So I think, the idea that anyone, you looking at someone's now versus your, their future, whatever, all those statements talk about, you can't do that. You have to realize that in 10 years, if you read the right books and you thought the right things, you'll be a different person for good or for bad. Or the really sad thing is you might not be a different person. You might be the same person 10 years later. So I was a very timid, I mean, I've always been loud, but I was still freaked out. And so now I can get on the phone every morning, and it's a muscle. You have to train that muscle. I was terrified the first few weeks, but after about a month, if you make 200 or 300 phone calls a day for a month and you're still alive, and you set an appointment where you get a listing that makes you $19,000, you're going, I'm really glad I did this. And I've had people go, oh, I don't want to pay for a dialer. That's too much money. And I'm going, okay. It's like $2,500 a year, and I've made 150 off the phone. So it's worth the $2,000. That's the only advertising. I wouldn't call it advertising, but that's the only thing I pay for.
You know, it's interesting, and Nicole, we're going to get to you, but I want Alicia, if you wouldn't mind unmuting. You know, Alicia and I work really closely together, and we've worked closely together for almost a year now. And, you know, you were really freaked out about cold calling when I first met you, and you still don't love it, but I've watched you kind of understand the results it gives, and I've watched you grow into it and embrace it more and more. Do you have anything to add to people who are just freaked out about cold calling? Because you were, right? Is it okay that I said that?
I am the exact opposite of you, Dan. Like, I promise you, it makes me sick to my stomach thinking about cold calling people. And honestly, what it took, it was just make one dial. Okay, I'm going to make 5 today. Like, start, like, it's so hard because I feel like you hear people like Dan, like, saying, I've made 200 calls. And I'm like, oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. Right. But it's like, make 1 call and then make 2 calls and then make 3 calls. And then one day you'll be hitting 20 contacts a day and you can high five yourself. Right. Like, you're gonna get a lot better at it. And honestly, I love winning. We know that. Right. So I never felt like I won on the phone, because I would only make 2 calls and then I wouldn't win in those 2 calls. And I'd be like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. But you have to make 20 to have a win. So once you start having wins is when you're going to get better at it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I just felt like it was worth going down that rabbit hole a little bit because it's such a common thing. A great book to read for anybody here listening is Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And I cannot recommend it enough. I had read it partially years ago, and I referred to all these people, and I just really listened to the whole thing in full on Audible. And it's an incredible book, and I highly recommend it. Nicole, where did you get your first transaction? Maybe.
Hi there. Sorry.
Hi, it's 2020. Unmute Zoom.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
No, so my first transaction was an open house as well. It was an older couple, and they were like newlyweds, and they told me what they were looking for. And again, I offered to show them right away. And we set an appointment for that weekend. We looked at a bunch of homes, and yeah, they were my first deal.
What about your next couple after that?
All of the rest, like, you know, 2nd through 5th were referrals. Either my son's school, they were friends, and I kind of knew what their dream house was, and I saw it hit the market, and I sent it to them right away. So my second sale was actually over $1 million. It was like a $1.2 million home, and we beat out multiple offers and got them their dream house. So that was really exciting. And then 4th, one was a soccer mom. And, you know, for my son's soccer team, found her family a house. And then she referred me to her friend who was like pre-approved, ready to go, found them a house kind of simultaneously. And it just snowballed. It was all kind of sphere-based.
Okay, rewind. We're gonna drill deep on those 2 things because you said a lot. You know, one of them is you said, well, I kind of knew what their dream house looked like. How did you know that?
Well, and what you were just saying, I preview a lot of homes, and it really does help. I've sold so many homes by literally when I'm talking to someone, I'm like, oh, I know that house. I just saw it last week. And you can give them details, and you really do seem like that confident expert because you've seen it and you know all the details. And so just through conversations of them being my friends, I had heard them talk about it, and it was honestly similar to kind of what I would want in a dream house. So when I saw this hit the market, like, first thing that morning, I was like, Louis and Danielle. And yeah, and they were thrilled that I had, you know, been keeping my eye out on something for them and that I knew their style so much. So I think it's just really listening to people, letting them do most of the talking, getting to know them. And
Yeah. And then I noticed you said a soccer mom and she brought her friend. Let's do a little role play. Go back in your head. Let's just say I'm a mom friend at school. What might you have said to me when, you were calling around to tell me that you were going into real estate? What might that have sounded like? Hello.
Oh. Hi, how are you doing, Via?
Good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to let you know I just got my real estate license and I'm super excited to start helping everyone out. And lived in West Seattle most of my life, know the area really well. I come across off-market opportunities as well. If you know of anyone or if you've ever thought of buying and selling, I'd love to have a conversation.
That's awesome. Perfect. Yeah. That's perfect. My favorite script that Debbie DeGroat taught me. She's one of my first coaches I ever had, and it's basically, Nicole, what are your real estate plans this year? What are your real estate related plans this year? And do you know anyone that has any real estate related plans this year? It's a very open-ended question. And are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I'm like, pick me.
Oh.
Yeah,
guys, if they own a home, like if you know that they own their home, I literally be like, hey, I just got into real estate. I'm so excited. I'm actually practicing doing market analysis for homes and net sheets. So I'm curious, do you mind if I do a quick market analysis? I'm just learning like how to pull comps and price per square foot and all that stuff. And I'll just send it to you just so you can see it. Is that okay? What's your address?
Yeah, that's great. Love that. Love that. Dan, we're on a roll. Do you want to share kind of what your database script was when you very first got started to introduce everybody to yourself, to being in real estate?
What's so weird about I must be wired differently. I would so much rather talk to a stranger than tell my friends I'm new to the business. Do you want to work with me? I did do that out of desperation, and ironically, it did bring a few transactions. So obviously, it does work. But for me, it was, hey, I'm going into this full time, and for me, it was a lot of people that knew me in my previous sales job, and so they knew my work ethic and they knew me. And so that was really the whole idea was I'm going to go do this now, the same high level that I was doing the other job. So yeah, when do you plan on moving? When do you plan on moving is like the easiest question, which is what is your real estate goals this year? When do you plan on moving? They're going to either have a plan or they're not.
Well, I love the plan on moving. The reason I like what are your real estate related plans or what are your real estate plans is a lot of people are looking for second homes. And so, it's not that they're necessarily moving or, they might say, like, here's a good example. My son is going to UT Austin. So I am actively looking for an investment home in Austin right now so he can get residency, right? That's a real estate plan, but I'm not moving. Right. So it's open-ended. Nicole, I do want to kind of finish that up. That was really good stuff because you also said something that I get asked about a lot. And that's how do you sell like soccer moms without being this used car salesman? How do you take that sphere, like your mom friends and the friends at school, friends at church? How do you take that sphere and be their go-to agent without, having them hold up garlic every time you walk up, like, get away from me, you're going to try to spam and sell me, right? What does that look like for you?
It's funny you ask that because sometimes I'm surprised I've done so well because I'm the least salesy person, and everyone has that friend that's constantly pushing something on them. And I knew right off the bat, I wanted to be Nordstrom experience. I wanted them to want to work with me, not me, guilting or forcing it. Mm-hmm. So I think once everyone knows what you're doing, you leave it alone. You can talk about exciting deals. I sold the Ryan Lewis house, right? I talk about that. And then people are asking you questions and they're engaging with you. It's not you trying to bombard these people into selling their house. So no pressure ever, just authentic relationships has worked wonders for me.
Nicole, we have to tell that story. So a lot of you here may not know the name Ryan Lewis, but Macklemore. And Macklemore and Ryan Lewis are a duo. Can you just briefly walk us through that amazing story? Because it was a $5 million home, is that right? 5 point?
Yeah, 5.6.
5.6. Yeah. Tell us that story.
Well, that's the craziest story. So I started doing some Zillow since I couldn't do open houses, like during the pandemic. That's one thing new that I've changed since the pandemic. And I go in on Magnolia and I ask another agent who's a hustler like me if she wants to do Magnolia with me. So we sign up for this and literally our first sale in that zip code is this $6 million, it started at $6 million house. And everyone's like, that's a joke. Who's going to buy a house through a Zillow? And we just built their trust and their rapport, and they went with us. They bought the house. We got them a great deal. It got some publicity. It was amazing.
I think what's really cool about that is that house had been on the market like 2 or 3 years. We all knew about that house.
Yes.
Right? And by the way, it is to this day, it is the best listing video you have ever seen. I've ever seen in my life. I don't think I'll ever see a listing video better than that. And I don't know if Hattie can find the link to put on Facebook, and that just is a fun total rabbit hole. It's a thoroughly enjoyable 20 minutes. But what's amazing about it is, I'm guessing if it was a Zillow lead, you converted the lead into a showing. Is that what you guys did? You just said, let's go.
Yeah. And again, it's instant. Hey, you want to meet there in an hour? Like, we'll be there, and that's another thing, the confidence. And I always dress up every day, even during COVID, because you don't know when somebody's going to want to go look at a $6 million house. And if I'm over here in my sweatpants, it's not happening. So yeah. I need to look like I can sell a $6 million house. Right. And so that's been huge. And it matters. Here. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I wanted everybody to hear that story because, you're on year 2 or 3 now, right?
Finishing up my second. Yeah.
Look, yeah, you're on year 2 and this didn't, you didn't cultivate this for 5 or 10 years. This didn't come from a membership at a country club, right? No. That's what I love about that story. It was one of the most notable sales in Seattle this year. And it came from an online lead because you hustled, because it was speed to lead. You got there fast, you got there quick, and the delta between setting that appointment and going on the showing was as quick as possible. I think that is the one thing, if anyone is watching, any new agent, any agent that's done this 20 plus years, if you're going to change up one thing in your business, guys, do it now. Put the word now on a Post-it note in front of your computer, put it on your phone, dress up, get ready, and have an expectation that you're going to be running off and doing appointments. I think that's the biggest mistake that most agents make, actually, is this lack of urgency.
Yeah. And I have, a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable doing this, but I will work 7 days a week. And if someone wants to look at a house at 8 at night or Sunday, like, barring any huge thing, I'm there. Or at this point now I have a buyer's agent. So that really helps, but there's no 9 to 5 here. Like, I work around my client's schedule, and I'm totally available, and people like that. And, it's a competitive market. So they know that I'm going to win them the home that they want when the time comes. I'm not going to be busy and unavailable. Mm-hmm.
Dan and Alicia, would you say that was your mindset, at least your first year? I get that we all want to create a life by design and get leverage around us, but your first year, would you say that you were kind of fairly available 24/7?
I'm still available 24/7. Yeah. I don't know if that'll change. I'm also wired that way. Like, if it's there, make hay while the sun is shining, because you don't know when it's not going to shine. And like Alicia said, it's $10,000 a check. You might want to collect some of those. So
should show up.
I'm going to go show a house. I'm
going to show a house. Yeah. Like, and that's your competitive advantage. Like, oh, they like whatever, they have whatever going on. I don't. See you there.
I've heard people say, we've called a couple agents. You're the first one that answered the phone. I have a buyer that I'm going to show a couple $1 million listings on Friday afternoon. That was how they called on one of my great listings that I have. And they're like, you're the only one that's answered the phone. And they're going to buy a house, and it's going to be 30 grand. Because I answered the phone, and I still answer the phone. We've talked, I don't know, 8 times while they're in that search. So
that's right.
Being available.
I'm wired the same way. I think it's great. All right, let's talk. I do want to move into CRM because we have about 10 minutes left. Let's talk about CRM. Do you guys have a database on some kind of a CRM? Is it on a napkin? Does it not really exist? Is it on a spreadsheet? Give me the truth. Tell me the truth. Where's your database living?
Crickets, right? Don't come to me.
Alicia Brown, I'm going to start with you then.
No!
Where is it?
My first 2 years, Excel sheet. That's it. Yeah. And I've seen it on the TL thread things. It's like an Excel sheet is not a database, like yelling it for the people in the back. And I was like, that is 100% me. Via, you taught me how to use Brevity, and now my world is like,
it takes a while, doesn't it, for your brain to wrap around not having a spreadsheet. You have to really get it. It takes a while. Dan, what about you?
I hadn't really kept the database for the first year and a half. I was just diving into working.
Yep, I get that.
Since the quarantine started happening, I started having time to like look at other things I would do. So I started doing a weekly email to my entire database, which was very small. But I thought, gosh, I'm circle calling. Why am I not asking for people's emails? And if we hit it off, you're not going to get every email. But I mean, if you circle call for an hour and a half and you talk to 15 people, you're going to end up with 3 to 5 very friendly people. And you go, hey, I'd like to send you my contact info. And I kind of tell people what's happening in the Houston market, every so often. What's a good email for you? And I get 3 to 7 email addresses a day. So now I'm putting those into a weekly, not really a drip campaign. I write the email every week. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to put the email together. And I went from, I don't know, I had like 110 names when I started to, I just looked, I'm up to 380. It's been 6 months of doing it, or 5 months of doing it. So I'm excited because 5 years from now, I'll have 2,000 or 3,000 people on this email list. And it's my production and what's going on and what's happening in the Houston market. So I follow a guy out of Atlanta who's not in our brokerage, but he has a 10,000 person email list because he's been circle calling for 13 years. He does over 100 deals a year now. And the only lead generation he does now is put together this email, 30 minutes once a week.
So great.
And I'm not going to stop making phone calls, but I'm like, gosh, what if, you're on the phone. I'm going to be on the phone for the next 20 years. So I'm just going to see my snowball get bigger because I'm going to, if the minute you're willing to send one email, you should have as many people on that email as you possibly can. So that's the goal now, is add to that. So my CRM now is purely just putting every single person I've ever met in my life to say, what's a good email for you? And for sure, there's other ways to be more proactive with people, but I've already had several people reach out responding to my weekly email going, hey, we're going to get ready to list our house. Can you come over and take a look at it? So
I love that.
That's like a big giant safety net holding, stuff. I would never have followed up with this lady that I went on an appointment with her and her husband last Sunday. I would never have remembered to follow up with her out of the thousands of people you talk to, but she emailed me. Now I'm going to go to they're going to get listed in the next 3 weeks. So that email has kind of become my CRM for me.
That's great. What about you, Nicole? Where does your database live?
I am that person with the notebook. It's like super old school. I mean, I carry it everywhere though. I'm constantly taking notes, and I am paying a gal now to put it all into Brevity for me so that I can send out,
great.
Online marketing and not just me being on the phone constantly. Because right now it's me sending text or calling. It's worked quite well, but it could be better. So yeah.
The best thing I recommend to everybody here, for whatever CRM you use, by the way, every CRM has their own version of this. The best thing to send a homeowner is a monthly, some kind of a market report on their home. Command has it, Brevity has it, Boomtown has it. They all sort of have it because it's about them, not you. And you're getting a little bit of branding, but I get the most views on those. They're automated in most systems. They're automated in Brevity. I'm sure they're automated in Command. And they just send them these reports every month, and they can see all the home sales in their neighborhood. And it's so simple and so easy, and it is so much better than nothing. You will get a few sales every year just from that, even if you do nothing, because I think a lot of us get analysis paralysis. All right, we have 6 minutes left, so we're going to do some rapid fire. You guys ready? You strap on your seatbelt for some rapid fire. Okay, on your mark, get your set. On your mark, get set. On your mark, get set. Your first year, your first year of real estate. What did you do well, Alicia? What did you do well?
I made the connections I needed to make in the office.
Okay. Dan, what about you? What did you do well?
I dove in and started working. My goal was to make 20 contacts a day. And I was in the office almost every day. I will tell you, I took 5 weeks off that year too, which is crazy looking back on it. Because my wife likes to travel, and I'm very flexible now because I have a job where I don't have a boss. So, and we had money coming in. So like, let's go to Disney World. It was amazing. But my goal was 20 contacts a day. And that to me, it's funny. I took Bold, like right before my full first year started, I took Bold, and it's the whole thing is make 20 contacts a day. That's it. And then they talk all about how people in Bold are doing more production than the agents that aren't in Bold. Mm-hmm. That's the reason they're talking to more people. So that was what I did right the first year, was talk to as many people as possible.
Nicole, what did you do well?
I think having that confidence and previewing and knowing really what was on the market and listening to people around me, potential clients, friends, family, just making connections wherever I went.
What was your biggest fail, Nicole, first year?
I think probably not building the database like I should have. I probably would have gotten even more. I did great, but I think I would have probably had like 5 more sales, because there was people, if I didn't follow up soon enough and I didn't have such a personal connection, they already bought, or they had, listed with somebody else. So I regret that.
All right. What about you, Dan? What was your biggest fail first year?
Exactly. I wish I'd started developing an act. I didn't really have a plan. I was very intimidated by all the campaign. I didn't know how to set up a campaign. This was back when we had e-edge, and I was like, I just got to be on the phone. But I really wish I had started compiling emails and sent out a weekly email from day one, but I wouldn't have known what to send. So I don't know if I could actually go back and fix it. I do wish I had started doing what I did 6 months ago, a year and a half before that, because I'd have a 1,300 people in my email by now.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, totally. Alicia, what was your biggest fail first year?
When you walk into somebody's house, AKA in a listing presentation, you go to take off your shoes every time. Like, start the process of taking your shoes off. And I took my iced coffee and I went to go take my shoes off, and I set it down on their nice furniture without a coaster. So that is something you got to be considerate. Like, you are going into these people's worlds, and I could have, once I set this down, I should have turned around and left right then and there, because there was no way I was going to get hired.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't bring a beverage in anyway. So that's an awesome fail. I love that. Okay, one final question. We have 2 minutes left, and this is a really important question. If you were starting your first year during COVID, what would you recommend? What do you think you would have done, or what would you do, or what would you recommend to all of our new agents watching during COVID? Nicole.
It would be very different. If this was my first year and I was really had some huge goals, I would be dialing and doing what Dan's been doing hours a day, because it does work. And, and if you are coming from nothing and you can't really do the opens and the face-to-face like you usually do, which I'm a master kind of networker, if that was all taken away, it would have to be the phones and sending out stuff to your sphere and leaving flyers on doors. I mean, yeah.
What about you, Dan? What would you recommend, and what are your thoughts on that?
Looking back at that first full year, the goal was 20 contacts a day. I track my numbers. So I think you should, number one, you should track your numbers, or you don't know how you're doing. When I look back at that end of that year, I only made 14 contacts a day, and I thought I was doing well. But when I added it all up, I'm like 14 a day. So now I have an accountability partner in my office that sits over here, and we pay each other $5 a contact if we miss our number below 20. And to date, we've been doing this now. It took forever. Started doing it about a month ago. I have never paid him. He had to pay me $55 on the second day, and he was angry. And I just thought, there's no way I will ever end 5 contacts or 4 contacts short. There's no way I'm giving you a $20 bill. Like, there's no possible chance. So for whatever reason, that little, and it's maybe, a couple contacts, it's $5 or $10. It's not a lot of money. I will never pay this guy. That's my goal in life. And I have made 20 contacts or 22 or 24 every single day for the last month. And I'm kind of excited to see, where is this going to take me in the next year? Because I've never averaged over 20 a day, and I had a pretty good year. Like, now I'm going to do 20 to 25 a day. So whether you get a dialer or whether you door knock, I wouldn't necessarily door knock right now. I'm leaving flyers. I believe if you look at everybody that failed in the last year in real estate and you had an honest discussion, did you talk to 20 strangers or 20 new people every day? The answer is no, 99.9% of the time. And if you did, you'd uncover a lot of leads. I wrote in your answers to your questions, if you talk to 20 plus contacts a day, there is no way you're not going to put yourself in the path of 10 or 20 deals in a year. You have to. And that's really what it comes down to, is how can I get my 20 contacts a day? Well, I would encourage you to figure out how to get those 20 contacts.
That's great. And that's COVID proof too. Alicia, go quick, my friend. What would you say to all new agents starting in COVID?
Agents aren't prospecting, especially right now. So if you get out there and do it, you are going to stand out and they will respect you for it. And sure, someone might be upset, but go over the top. Go to the dollar store and go pick up a bunch of hand sanitizers and have Lysol wipes in your hand and have one in and keep your mask on. Just go over the top with safety so that they have nothing to say and still be out there doing it, because your opportunity is tripled, doubled, whatever, because there's nobody else out working right now.
Amen.
That's right. Love these answers. This is amazing. Thank you guys so much, really, for taking an hour out of your day to teach all of our agents that listen and watch. I know for a fact they got a ton out of this. I know I did. And for everybody watching us live, it is 1 p.m. It's actually 1:01 p.m. PST. Please go right over to the One Thing webinar and watch my friend Wendy Papazan talk about how to use retreats in goal setting. I promise you it'll be worth it. Thank you guys so much. Next week, Coach's Corner. The week after that, Wendy and I are going to go over the GPS and 411. Have a fantastic week, everybody.